The journey to the fertility clinic was fraught with an unspoken tension between my wife, Clara, and myself. A sudden collision on the road, however, abruptly ended that chapter of our lives, casting us into a new existence. Without a word, we both understood the need for distance, for the charade of being strangers. Clara, with a swift, almost violent motion, discarded the bouquet of flowers she had intended as a heartfelt confession. I, in turn, deleted her contact information without hesitation. In this new reality, Clara's ambitions seemed to gravitate towards wealth. She found herself pursued by a well-to-do classmate, whose family's resources paved her way to a polished education abroad. I remained in our familiar surroundings, establishing roots and building a life within the local community. Years passed, and our paths converged unexpectedly at our son's first-grade parent-teacher meeting. Clara arrived in a sleek, expensive car, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit. I, on the other hand, pulled up on my modest electric scooter, my son perched securely behind me. Her voice, sharp with condescension, cut through the air. "Arthur," she began, her tone laced with amusement. "You managed to have a child, an existence that only affords you an e-scooter. Was it truly worth subjecting your wife to IVF for such a meager life?" Her words stung, a cruel reminder of our past struggles. Yet my gaze drifted to the young boy standing beside her, a child whose existence held a secret only I knew from our previous life. It wasn't my inability to father a child that had stood in our way. A different encounter unfolded at the very same parent-teacher meeting. I arrived on my scooter, my son nestled behind me. As I parked, a murmur rippled through the assembled parents. "Good heavens, isn't that a Porsche 911? Worth a fortune. That child has certainly hit the jackpot from day one. Both parents dropping him off, they must be incredibly wealthy. Quite the impressive pair." A familiar voice broke through the buzz. "Hey, Clara, you're back!" It was the casual greeting of my old friend, Daniel. "Heard you were studying abroad, had to return to build your career." I hadn't anticipated hearing that voice again after so many years of separation in this new life. Daniel strolled up to Clara. "I teach at this school. What a coincidence. Your son is in first grade, remember our friend Arthur?" Clara responded with a hint of impatience, her reply vague. Daniel grinned. "My kid's in the same grade. Perhaps they'll be classmates." His eyes scanned the crowd, and he spotted me. "Look who's here! Arthur!" Our eyes met. Clara's expression was a mixture of smugness and amusement. A son stood between us, a silent testament to a life I was no longer a part of. I was in a rush that day, my attire simple, my tie slightly askew. I likely appeared as an ordinary, somewhat worn-out individual, blending into the background, save perhaps for my height and fair complexion. I offered a polite nod and a casual wave towards Clara. "Long time, Clara." She barely acknowledged me with a curt nod, her demeanor cold and distant. But then her eyes fell upon the small boy standing beside me, and she froze. Her eyes widened, fixated on my son's face. My son, whose features bore a striking resemblance to mine. Fate, it seemed, had placed our children in the same first-grade class. After the meeting concluded, Clara approached me, her expression still carrying that familiar blend of disdain and pride. "Arthur," she began, "for your son's first parent meeting, the least you could have done is wear presentable clothes. Children are sensitive. Appearing like you just cleaned toilets could unsettle them, you know. Look at your child, not even dressed in clothes that coordinate with yours." She moved closer, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "But I must say, Arthur, I never imagined you would have a child. A man who only rides an e-scooter, who would even consider IVF with you." I glanced at Clara, then at the boy she held so possessively. In our past life, she had mocked my perceived infertility, but only I knew the truth. It wasn't me who had been unable to conceive. How she had her son in this life remained a mystery. Did she even know the circumstances herself? Had her wealthy partner orchestrated some deception, leading her to believe this child was truly hers? Seeing my silence, she pressed further, her tone laced with triumph. Leaving you was the best decision I ever made. Without you holding me back, I've thrived. And look at you, barely better than a beggar. Her smugness grew with each word. She pulled out the keys to her Porsche 911, dangling them in my face. Bet you've never seen keys to a car like this before. Take a good look. This is the life I was meant to have. Arthur, when you deleted me without a second thought, did you ever imagine you'd see this day, huh? Do you regret much that we were married in the past? In our previous life, Clara had always been eager to start businesses, each venture ending in failure. Forget fancy cars. We couldn't even afford decent electric ones. Her words now sounded so utterly disingenuous. Congratulations on getting what you wanted, I replied nonchalantly, not even glancing at the car keys she so deliberately flaunted. In our home, in this life, we had a drawer full of such keys. Clearly, my response was not what she had anticipated. Clara's eyes blazed with anger, her face flushed. Words escaped through clenched teeth. Don't you feel any resentment? Honestly, no, I replied calmly. Clara was living the life she had always desired. Why should I harbor bitterness? Was her satisfaction contingent upon my begging and groveling? Before I could elaborate, a cool, mocking voice interjected from behind. Well, isn't it Arthur? Henry approached, impeccably dressed in a tailored Italian suit, an expensive crocodile skin bag slung over his shoulder, one hand casually tucked into his pocket. Long time no see. Thanks, by the way. He placed an arm around Clara, a smug smile on his face. Clara said you couldn't stand her poor state before. Broke her heart. Showed her my worth. Arthur, you were Cupid for us, really. He eyed me up and down, a condescending smirk playing on his lips. But look at you, a guy in your state. Tisk. Normal women wouldn't give someone as broke as you a second glance. His words left me dumbfounded. In this life I had never even dated Clara, let alone looked down on her for any perceived lack of wealth. How shamelessly Clara had twisted our past to elevate Henry in his own eyes. I was about to offer a correction when I heard a small voice behind me. Dad! My son came running over, proudly displaying a small red flower his teacher had just given him. Henry stepped in front of my son, crouching down, feigning friendliness. Hey there, kiddo. I'm your dad's friend, Uncle Henry, he said, then abruptly pinched my son's cheek. His skin, so delicate, instantly turned red. I instinctively swatted Henry's hand away. Henry, what are you doing? He wiped his hand with a handkerchief, his tone nonchalant. What's wrong? Can't I pinch your cute kid, so is your kid made of gold or something? He then pointed at my son's slightly chapped lips. You really ought to notice your kid is dehydrated and needs water. As he spoke, he pulled a thermos from his expensive bag, opened it, and a wisp of steam escaped. It was clearly boiling water. I quickly pulled my son behind me, shielding him. No thanks, we don't need any. What, you think you're better than me? A little sip won't hurt. Henry ignored me, stepping towards my son with the steaming cup. Without thinking, I pushed his hand away. The thermos tilted, and the boiling water splashed all over Henry, scalding his skin red. Instead of tending to his burns, his immediate concern was his attire. My new stuff! It can't get wet! He kept repeating frantically, wiping at his clothes and bag. Parents around us, recognizing the exorbitant cost of his outfit, exchanged sympathetic glances. After what felt like an eternity, Henry stopped his frantic cleaning and glared at me. "Arthur, you're just bitter because Clara loves me and not you. I never thought you'd go this far, ruining my things. Don't think I'll let this go just because we were classmates. Pay up! Even if you're broke, you gotta pay!" Clara stormed over, shoving me hard, her eyes blazing. "Arthur, you've crossed the line," she yelled. "Henry just wanted to offer your child a drink, but you threw water on him." "Help? Who offers boiling water to a 7-year-old? I retorted. And I didn't do it on purpose. I simply gave a light push to protect my son, and the thermos somehow tipped over. I stood my ground, still shielding my son, who clung to me tightly, the small red flower clutched in his hand. "Don't bully my dad," he declared bravely. Clara shot my son a disapproving look, but then smirked at me, as if she held some secret knowledge of my deepest insecurities. "Arthur, jealous of my handsome, wealthy husband and ashamed of your cheap shirt and beat-up scooter, right?" The surrounding parents continued their hushed chatter. "Who knew he'd be so petty? So jealous of anyone better off?" one whispered. "I heard he had a thing for that guy's wife but got rejected," another added. "Can you believe he poured hot water right on him? Dangerous?" The gossip escalated, becoming increasingly distorted. I felt a surge of anger, but also a sense of the absurd. The wilder the accusations became, the more I felt the need to explain. First, it was an accident. And who offers a child boiling hot water? Second, it's not wrong to refuse a stranger's drink for your child, right? But Henry simply stared at me coldly. "Arthur, I honestly wanted to be friends. Thought your kid was cute and thirsty, tried to help. But your paranoid take on it really stinks. Why cling to Clara, regretting it now?" "Regret what?" Henry smirked. "With my dad's support, Clara has her own company now. Gorgeous, successful. She gave me an amazing son. Missed out on this gem of a woman, didn't you?" Not one bit, I thought. "Laugh all you want," Henry continued, his smugness unwavering. "My heart set, no regrets here." Clara offered a cold chuckle. "Same stubborn mouth. Accepting I'm better off than you? Impossible." Seeing Clara boast about her wealth, her child, acting as if everything was so vastly different from the life we once shared, was almost comical. Her son bore no resemblance to her. Didn't she see it? How could she be so blind to her own reality? But I had no desire to become further entangled in their drama. "How much for the clothes and bag? I'll pay now," I stated simply. Henry laughed mockingly. "You know how much all this costs? Just this bag? Getting one takes $15,000. At least you and your cheap outfit think you can pay?" "Why so quick to judge? If I offer to pay, wouldn't I have the means?" I took a deep breath, trying to maintain my composure. "Sure, my outfit and ride aren't worth much, but don't assume I can't cover your things. Just give me your bank information," I told him. Henry seemed to doubt my ability to actually pay. "I'm really not trying to hassle you," he said, a patronizing tone creeping into his voice. "I know hens that can't lay eggs tend to overpamper the eggs when they get them, but you're really generous, caring so deeply for something that's not even yours. How pitiful." My expression finally turned cold. Suddenly, I slapped Henry hard, without holding back. "I've been putting up with you for too long. Your son is the illegitimate one." Hearing my words, Henry's face froze for a moment, then contorted in disbelief. "Arthur, are you nuts? Are you out of your mind or something?" I didn't miss the flicker of embarrassment in his eyes. It seemed my accusation had struck a nerve. Just then, Clara rushed forward, shielding Henry, and shoved me forcefully. I was unprepared and had never raised a hand against a woman. Thankfully, Daniel, who had just finished his teaching duties, witnessed the scene and quickly steadied me. Even my 7-year-old son stood bravely in front of me, like a tiny knight. He puffed out his cheeks and glared at Clara, who towered over him. "If you bully my dad again, I'm gonna be mad." Daniel attempted to defuse the situation. "We're all old classmates here. Why don't we just talk it out? No need to lose our cool." "Lose my cool? Who hit first?" Clara pointed a finger aggressively in my face. "Arthur, am I not treating you well enough? You poor, pathetic loser. How dare you treat my husband Henry like this? Do you really think you're somebody important? I don't need you to treat me well. He insulted my son in front of everyone. Shouldn't I fight back?" I sneered inwardly. I didn't want to drag my wife and son into this mess because of some unpleasant people from the past. I needed to handle this carefully. "I've already said I'll cover the compensation, but your husband kept pushing, even spreading lies about me and my kid. But don't worry, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'll even cover the cost of the slap." Before I could finish, Clara scoffed. "Arthur, are you out of your mind, acting like you're rich? Can you even afford to pay?" I looked her directly in the eye, enunciating each word clearly. "Give me your account details." "Arthur, you really should get over your stubbornness. We wouldn't be here today if you had. Do you know how much this altogether will cost? At least $500,000? Are you willing to lose everything playing this petty game?" I had no patience for her lecture. Impatiently, I repeated, raising my voice slightly. "Give me your account." Clara lowered her voice, a hint of threat in her tone. "You can't even have kids. If you go into debt for more than $500,000, do you think your wife would still want you?" "Give me your account," I repeated, my jaw tight. She gritted her teeth. "Don't be ungrateful, Arthur. You'll regret this." "Clara, stop wasting time with him." Henry was on the verge of exploding, seeing his wife seemingly hesitant to provide the information. "If our old classmate doesn't appreciate the help and wants to keep up this charade, let's give him what he wants. I'll give you the account right now. Let's see if you can actually pay." At Henry's signal, Clara reluctantly displayed the payment code on her phone. I opened the mobile payment application, ready to transfer the funds. As the transaction password prompt appeared, I hesitated. For all the years of my marriage in this life, my wife, Evelyn, had always handled the finances. The password was a bit hazy in my memory. I entered one, but it was incorrect. I paused, trying another. Still wrong. I supposed life had been too comfortable. Even my memories were becoming unreliable. Clara continued to hold out the code, while Henry stood beside her, a smug anticipation on his face. Passing classmates and parents paused, sensing an impending spectacle. Seeing that no money was being transferred, Henry covered his mouth, a mocking laugh escaping. "Arthur, aren't you stubborn? Where's the money? My wife's arm might get sore holding the code, and you haven't sent over a single penny. Is there a limit or something?" Now, everyone standing around could see that Clara's phone screen remained unchanged. I explained, a touch of embarrassment in my voice. "I haven't used this in too long. Forgot the—" "Aha!" Henry laughed derisively. "Coming up with an excuse like that after all this time? You're really something." Clara looked at me with undisguised scorn. Even the parents observing the scene began to whisper amongst themselves. Thought Arthur's dad was going to take responsibility. Guess it was just talk. Who forgets passwords these days? No one stupid enough to just hand over more than $500,000. Maybe doesn't want to live the rest of his life in debt, huh? The couple was ready to let him go, but he wanted to show off being rich. Who knew they'd pull out the code, and now he's got no way to back it up? How embarrassing. Henry eyed me with a triumphant smirk. "So, tell me, how do you plan to pay this? Installments, some payday loan? Like you could even get $100,000, right? Are you going to be paying this off your whole life?" Helplessly, I hadn't foreseen the issue with the forgotten password. "How about finding a card machine? I'll swipe my wife's card and pay you right away. Her card never requires a password, and I've never needed one to use it. Just stop pretending already, Clara snapped, her patience clearly exhausted. Admit you're broke. Isn't life hard enough as it is? If this 500,000 isn't settled, Arthur, you're going to jail, Henry declared, a satisfied smirk spreading across his face. I just wanted you to apologize, but after wasting so much of my time, you're going to have to beg for my forgiveness. The crowd murmured, eager to witness the unfolding drama. Thankfully, at that moment, a familiar, sweet voice rang out from the crowd. Who needs to beg? Evelyn walked towards us, the school principal and several board members following closely behind her. Gasps rippled through the assembled parents. It's Evelyn, the wealthiest woman in town. What's she doing here? She gracefully navigated through the crowd and walked directly to my side. Her eyes swept over the scene before her, and she immediately sensed the tense atmosphere. A slight furrow appeared between her brows. What's going on? She inquired, her voice calm but carrying an unmistakable air of authority. Clara, ever the businesswoman, recognized Evelyn's presence and instinctively sought to gain her favor. It's just a small misunderstanding, Evelyn, she explained, attempting a conciliatory tone. Turning to Henry, she added, Henry, let's not stoop to their level, especially with Evelyn here. There's no need to make a scene and embarrass ourselves. Henry, however, accustomed to his privileged upbringing, bristled at Clara's cautiousness. What difference does it make if Evelyn's here? He retorted arrogantly. Why should I forgive someone who's disrespectful and let this loser walk all over me? Let everyone judge for themselves. He splashed hot water on me, and I was prepared to let it go, but he didn't appreciate it. He even slapped me, talked about returning money, and yet hasn't given a dime. Tried to take us for a ride. Was I wrong to demand he kneels and apologizes? Evelyn, is it wrong for me to want an explanation, really? Evelyn turned to me, a gentle smile gracing her lips. You're that bold, Arthur? Splash hot water and slap people? Evelyn, you know I'm a decent guy, I replied calmly. I don't badmouth people, but some men are clueless. They're jealous of me being with Clara, feeling like they lost a good woman, so they make things hard for me, Henry interjected, pointing dramatically at the water stain on his bag. Evelyn, you know this is a Hermes bag, and the accessories alone cost $150,000, right? Evelyn's expression subtly darkened with each of his words. Sensing this, Henry intensified his complaints. A guy like him can surely tell, but he thought we wouldn't pursue it because we're old schoolmates, and he took it too far. You really jealous of him, Evelyn? I simply shrugged. No way, that's nuts. Exactly. He falls short of me in every way, Clara declared, sizing me up with a dismissive glance. Henry, noticing Evelyn's shifting expression and sensing her displeasure, grew uneasy. Evelyn, you're not falling for this loser, are you? Her outfit probably came with free shipping for less than $10. Evelyn's eyes twinkled slightly. Clearly agreed. That's smart. Spend wisely, safely, smartly. It's thrifty. Hearing her unexpected praise made me blush slightly, but Evelyn spoke with such genuine grace, as if she truly believed it. Even the principal and board members who had followed her seemed surprised, perhaps never having witnessed this particular side of Evelyn. No one present knew that Evelyn, the astute business magnate, had been eager to marry young, having another chance at building a life. I hadn't initially planned on remarrying, the cycle of falling in love. Then the inevitable resentment, feeling too painful and suffocating. Evelyn hadn't swept me off my feet with grand gestures. Instead, she had consistently been the first to offer support whenever I needed it. I had gradually come to realize that there truly were women who were gentle and willing to face life's challenges alongside me, without resorting to blame or treating their partners with disdain. In my past life, it wasn't marriage itself that had been flawed. It was simply that Clara and I were fundamentally incompatible. This time I had been brave enough to love again, and I hadn't been disappointed. Evelyn, noticing my slight distraction, asked with a touch of concern, "Are you all right, darling? What's the situation now?" "I haven't spent my own money in so long. I forgot my password," I admitted awkwardly. "Help me transfer 500,000 to them." I gestured towards Clara. "Payment code?" Evelyn turned to Clara, indicating for her to present her phone. A collective gasp rippled through the onlookers. Clara's face visibly paled. "Evelyn," Clara stammered, "this is between us and an old schoolmate. How could we possibly take your money? Arthur, even back in school, you were always trying to get women to pay for you. Evelyn is too kind, but surely you won't shamelessly accept it." Henry was practically beside himself with jealousy. He couldn't comprehend why this seemingly ordinary man consistently had women supporting him. "This is my business too. Payment code. I won't say it again," Evelyn stated firmly, a hint of steel in her voice. Clara and Henry were clearly furious, but didn't dare to defy Evelyn. Their initial intention had been to humiliate me by showcasing their perceived superior lifestyle. Reluctantly, Clara raised her phone, displaying the payment code. In mere seconds, the substantial sum was transferred. "Evelyn, you're willing to be a sucker and pay 500,000 for this guy?" Henry exclaimed in disbelief. Evelyn's tone turned icy. "Mind your words, mister. If you continue to disrespect my husband, I will take legal action." A stunned silence fell over the crowd. Henry was visibly shocked. "Your husband? Your husband isn't Arthur, is it?" Evelyn moved to stand between me and our son, wrapping her arm protectively around my waist while gently pulling our son closer. "What's wrong? Don't we seem like a match?" Our son rolled his eyes dramatically. "Dad, you married Evelyn!" Henry's voice grew sharp with disbelief. "Then why act poor? Riding a second-hand bike?" My son piped up gleefully. "Uncle, don't you think electric bikes are super cool?" Indeed, ever since kindergarten he had admired the parents who took their children to school on electric bikes. That morning, I had simply borrowed my father's old grocery bike. The realization that they had ridiculed someone far wealthier than themselves dawned on Henry and Clara. Their faces flushed with shame. They had assumed my life was one of poverty, and that I was undoubtedly jealous of their seemingly superior existence. Little did they know, I now belonged to a league far beyond their reach. Everyone knew that Evelyn wasn't just the CEO of a leading company, but also the wealthiest individual in the city, having amassed billions in assets at a remarkably young age. For Henry and Clara, even a fleeting audience with Evelyn was a rare opportunity. Yet here they were, making disparaging remarks about her husband, a man legally bound to a business titan. Their current embarrassment was entirely understandable. The other parents, who had initially remained neutral, swiftly shifted their demeanor upon witnessing this turn of events. They began to subtly scold Henry and Clara for their condescending behavior. Once my connection to Evelyn became apparent, those who had previously mocked us became overly friendly, eagerly approaching us to exchange pleasantries and contact information, feigning interest in discussing parenting. Evelyn shielded me gently, saying, "Sorry, my husband is a bit shy, and not much for socializing." "Oh, we understand, Evelyn," one of the parents said quickly. "We're not the type to bully others just because our family has a bit of money. Since Mr. Gua isn't into it, we won't bother him." Listening to the insincere niceties being exchanged, Henry, clearly unaccustomed to such a reversal of social dynamics, looked particularly disgruntled. He likely sought reassurance from Clara, hoping she would defend him as fiercely as Evelyn had defended me. To his surprise, Clara didn't even glance his way. Her gaze remained fixed on me, a look so intense it was unsettling. Being stared at with such unwavering intensity was deeply uncomfortable, but I was no longer the man I once was. I returned her gaze with a cold, unwavering stare. Clara's eyes held a hint of redness, her lips pale from being bitten too hard, as if she were struggling to contain a powerful surge of anger, as if she might tear me apart at any moment. I couldn't fathom the source of her fury. She and Henry were living a life many could only dream of. What was her issue? Evelyn, perceptive as always, noticed Clara's intense gaze. She shot her a warning glance. "You got a problem with my husband?" "No way, not at all." Clara quickly averted her eyes, clutching her Porsche keys tightly, as if deep in thought. Eventually, before the parent-teacher meeting even concluded, they both concocted some excuse to leave early. Back home, Evelyn curled up in my arms, a slight pout on her lips. "Do you think that woman is still interested in my darling husband?" I confidently replied, "Nope. She just can't stand the fact that my life has improved so dramatically since she left." In her mind, the difficulties she faced in our past life were all my fault. I should be suffering, regretting not staying with her, but she never expected that without her, my life would become so much better than before. Evelyn continued to tease playfully. "And you? Still thinking about your old friend?" With a sigh, I kissed her lightly on the corner of her lips. "Silly, why would I—" Evelyn didn't press further, simply deepening the kiss, whispering huskily, "Love you, honey." Later that night, our son mentioned wanting a sister. The following morning, after a restless night, I took our son to school. I spotted Clara waiting near the gate. "Arthur," she said, her voice surprisingly subdued, "can we talk?" We walked to a small cafe around the corner from the school. As soon as we were seated, a familiar, triumphant smile flickered across Clara's face, as if she had suddenly regained the upper hand. "You got Evelyn this time around, Arthur, but admit it, you can't get over me." Why was she always so incredibly self-assured? "Just get to the point, Clara, will you?" She continued, "Arthur, did you know that in our last life, around this very time, we were still traveling to different cities, searching for a good IVF clinic? I blamed you back then, because I desperately wanted to be a mother, but you couldn't support me or give me a child." "Living again," she went on. "I pursued the life I wanted, which is fair enough. I agreed in the last life it was unbearable, probably even worse for me. She painted me as the most useless man ever, making my existence feel utterly pointless. How I even endured that struggle still baffles me." Clara continued, "Seeing you in this life with a 7-year-old son shocked me. I initially thought, what kind of woman would tie you down as a stepfather? But when I learned it was Evelyn, it all clicked. Money as a significant motivator." "After all, we didn't do IVF," I said honestly. Her eyes widened. "Did you adopt your child with Evelyn? Or did Evelyn have a child before marrying you?" I hated to shatter her assumptions, but I had to be truthful. "Our son is Evelyn's. She carried him for 10 months. We didn't need IVF, and the pregnancy was perfectly normal. We conceived in our 2nd year of marriage." "Impossible!" Clara stood up abruptly, her voice rising. "That's not possible, Arthur. You can't have kids." I simply watched Clara's outburst, neither laughing nor becoming angry. My expression remained neutral. At that moment, I only felt a profound sense of pity for her. After a brief pause for reflection, I spoke. "Do you know why I agreed to meet you today? It's not because I still harbor any feelings for you, but there's something I've never told you, Clara. Have you ever considered that perhaps you were the one who couldn't have children?" "No way." Clara's expression turned frantic. "I have a son. How can you say I can't have children?" Then a look of realization crossed her face. "I get it now," she exclaimed. "You're trying to mess with me, right? But Arthur, your plan is wrong. I'll never regret it. Never. I'm just an ordinary person. I'm with Henry because he provides the resources I desire. Is it wrong to want a better life? I didn't just rely on her family. I made my mark in the world with my own hands, starting my own company in an international city. Who among our classmates has achieved what I have today? You can't deny it. I've lived more successfully in this life than the last." Her voice grew increasingly emotional as she spoke, as if desperately trying to convince herself. I merely sipped my coffee, allowing her to continue without interruption. It wasn't until she noticed my silence that she snapped, "What's wrong? Got nothing to say, huh?" "Clara," I began, my voice calm. "In our past life, I truly loved you. Because of that, when I received your health report, I concealed the fact that you were the one who couldn't conceive. I felt foolish for doing so. No matter how your mother criticized me, saying I wasn't a real man and should just accept being childless, I remained silent. I knew how much appearances meant to you. I figured if one of us had to bear the blame, it might as well be me. But I was wrong. I thought you would understand. But in your eyes, I became the man who looked down on you for being broke and a failure. A man who couldn't have children. You've worked hard in this life and achieved success, but Clara, we are no longer connected. I came here today to finally reveal this long-held secret. I'm done being tired. It was exhausting keeping this from you in our past life." I barely finished speaking before she erupted. "Do you think I'd believe your lies? My son is 7. He looks just like me. How would I not know?" Her confidence seemed unwavering. How could she ever admit to being infertile? I didn't argue, simply preparing to leave. She grasped my sleeve, her voice slightly choked. "Arthur, do you ever regret not having me in your life this time?" Without turning back, I replied calmly, "Never regretted it. I hope we never meet again. And if we do, we should act like strangers." I gently pulled my arm away from Clara's grasp and walked out of the cafe, without looking back. As expected, Clara's suspicion got the better of her. The next day, she underwent a comprehensive medical examination. The word infertile on the report hit her like a physical blow. Refusing to believe it, she proceeded with a DNA test. The results confirmed her worst fears. Her son was not biologically hers. Years of enduring shame, believing she had finally built a fulfilling life, crumbled around her. She had been living a lie. The pregnancy had been a tumor, its small size and the associated symptoms all due to the growth. After its removal, Henry had adopted a child, presenting him as their own. She had believed it because she had no reason to doubt him, blinded by her own desire for motherhood, fueled by rage and a sense of betrayal. She plotted revenge. She poisoned her in-laws' food, leaving them in a vegetative state. She then manipulated company assets, ousting Henry from his own business. Her vengeance didn't stop there. She targeted their adopted son, leaving them financially ruined with no means of escape. Desperate to support his child, Henry resorted to extreme measures. A year later, ill and destitute, he hid in the company parking lot, waiting for Clara. In a final, desperate act, he attacked her with a knife, repeatedly stabbing her. "Did I force you to marry into our family?" he screamed amidst his rage. "You lived off us. My parents paid for your education. Everything you have is because of us. You were only cheated on, and besides, you couldn't even have children yourself. Having a son to care for you was a stroke of luck, but you ruined us. You're a gold digger, but did I make you one? Why blame everything on me?" Lying in her own blood, Clara finally confronted the horrifying truth of what she had become. A bitter, resentful woman who consistently shirked responsibility, denied reality, and blamed men for all her misfortunes. In the past, she had harbored suspicions about her own fertility, but had always deflected blame onto me, ignoring the doctor's subtle hints and the implications of her healthy eggs. because she couldn't bear to admit the truth. She had readily accepted her mother's harsh criticisms of me, oblivious to my pain. She had drowned her sorrows in alcohol, blaming me for her failed businesses. Even after our rebirth and her second chance at life, she had never acknowledged her own shortcomings. But now, facing the consequences of her actions, she saw herself for what she truly was, a terrifying, unrepentant monster. She deserved to lose my love. She didn't deserve a husband who would have always put her first. The next time I heard about Clara was on the news. Driven to madness, Henry had thrown their adopted son off a building before ending Clara's life with a brutal, frenzied attack. I felt a fleeting pang of sorrow, but nothing more. Everything from our past life felt distant, like a fading dream. I didn't know if Clara would be reborn again, but I fervently wished that our paths would never cross in any future existence. Evelyn, sensing my sudden somberness, hugged me from behind. "Honey, what's wrong?" Feeling a wave of gratitude wash over me, I smiled and turned, pulling Evelyn into a close embrace. Watching our son happily playing with his toy cars, the window reflecting our peaceful family, I felt an overwhelming sense of contentment. I smiled, gently poking her cheek. "With you guys, how could I ever be unhappy? I know I've been given a fresh start this time around, with love and family by my side. I'll never be alone again."